Gaming journalism has this reputation of just being a complete utter joke, and this video right here is definitely not going to help gaming journalism's reputation. I'm pretty sure I speak for most people when I say that a game that comes out for the Series X and PS5 should not be locked to 30, or at least give the option for a performance mode like a lot of games nowadays do. I mean hell, literally says 4K 120 FPS on the box of the PS5 and Xbox Series X. The Series X was also called the most powerful console ever, yet we're still getting frame rates of that we got on the GameCube. Like, what's going on here? If resolution can improve so much over the years, and graphics can improve so much over the years, then why can't frame rate as well? Well, according to the games journalist that we're going to be taking a look at today, you should not expect your game to run at 60 FPS. You should just accept 30 FPS, just consume product, don't ask questions.
Don't ask questions, just consume product and then get excited for next product.
Because after all, how dare you expect your next-gen console to perform like a next-gen console? You don't have to chase numbers on console. Playing at 4K and 30 frames per second is a superb experience. Yeah, I definitely wouldn't call it a superb experience. A winning combination, and it's written by Rob Duar? I don't know how to say that. Now, if you enjoy playing certain games at 4K 30, I mean, have fun, go ahead, like, I'm happy for you. But for me and a lot of other people, we want to be able to play in at least 60 FPS. I mean, how many console generations have we been through now, and we're still not at 60 FPS for some games? When the PS5 and Xbox Series X arrived over 3 years ago, there was a lot of chatter about whether we were finally in the generation of playing games at full glorious 4K resolution, simultaneously with 60 FPS, or 60 frames per second speeds on console. Yeah, we should definitely be at 4K 60 with our consoles by now, and I don't know if the reason why games aren't running at 60 FPS is so that Sony and Microsoft can sell you pro versions of the consoles that can play at 4K 60, which would be a really scummy move. But to me personally, I think it's a case of the developers not knowing how to optimize their games properly, because there's a lot of games out there that are optimized great. I mean, Doom Eternal, for example, the gameplay I'm using in the background, the game can run at 120 FPS on console, or it can play at 4K 60. Even Call of Duty, for all the stupid, like, dumbass design decisions that the developers use, at least they optimize the game pretty well every time they release it. I mean, Call of Duty games have been launching at 60 FPS since the fucking 360. So me personally, I don't feel like it's an unrealistic expectation to be able to play our games in 60 FPS, even if it means lowering the resolution. This has, of course, not come to fruition. While there is a smattering of 4K 60 FPS offerings, the vast majority of games aiming to increase the frame rate have to compromise on image quality to do so, or vice versa. Which brings us to 4K gaming at 30 FPS, which I am here to tell you is still a superb experience in many cases and shouldn't be hastily dismissed. Well, I mean, it really depends on the style of game you're playing. If you're playing a first-person shooter or any other game that requires quick reaction times, playing at 30 FPS is just utter pain. And this is because the higher the frame rate you have, the lower the amount of input lag. So if you're playing a game at 30 FPS that requires quick movements and fast reaction times, you do not want to have any input lag at all. Now, if you're playing something like a turn-based game, 30 FPS is fine because you don't have to react quickly, you're not trying to like aim onto enemies or anything like that. So, I mean, whatever, who cares? But the problem is we're still getting, like, even first-person shooters running at 30. Like, we had Redfall come out and it ran at 30 FPS, and that was just utter fucking pain. Not only was the game shit, but it also felt like shit. Arguments will go on whether 4K 60 was overpromised or actually what people should expect from the current crop of gaming consoles. But I'm here to bang the drum for a stable 4K 30, as it still unfairly gets a bad rap. Plenty of games shine when being played in this mode, and the experience on offer is one that's totally valid on console and often underrated.
You serious?
A few things I want to mention. You say you bang the drum for a stable 4K 30. You better hope it's fucking stable, because if it goes any lower than 30, you're in the fucking 20s, dude. You say tons of games shine when played at 4K 30, but the thing is, yeah, they might visually look really good, but how do they play? Like, take 2 Cakes for example. You have one cake, on the outside it looks really good, but when you bite into it, the inside of it is just dog shit. But the other cake, it looks meh on the outside, like it looks kind of mid, but you bite into it and it tastes amazing. That's how I view 4K 30 versus 1080p 60. The cake that looks mid but tastes amazing is 1080p 60 for me, and the cake that looks great and tastes like shit is the 4K 30 for me. Because when it comes down to it, the most important thing to me about a video game is the gameplay. It's what makes the video game a video game. And performance is a big part of the gameplay. High fidelity. I will almost always choose a fidelity mode by default. This comes from a desire to see every detail in a game. Every leaf vein, hand wrinkle, and glint in the eye, as well as to take the best screenshots. As good as the performance modes are for image quality, nothing beats a true, proper 4K resolution complete with all the details. Lighting effects, draw distances, except at all? I don't know if did he fuck that up? Well, me and you are definitely playing video games for different reasons. You're playing them to look at fucking leaves and hand wrinkles, and I'm playing them for the gameplay. Maybe I should just take this guy's advice, and instead of killing the demons in Doom Eternal, I should just fucking look at them. And I don't think this guy realizes, but when a game tries to be ultra realistic, it usually doesn't age that well because graphics advance over time. And that's why a lot of older games that tried to be realistic at the time look like utter dog shit now. You also say nothing beats a true 4K experience, but I don't think you realize this, but the consoles aren't actually playing at native 4K. It's playing at a upscaled 4K. Which, I mean, it still looks good, but it's not a true 4K experience. I do change a bit though from time to time, and often I take a policy of fidelity for screenshots, performance for play. Something that I definitely employed in my 200 hours with Assassin's Creed Valhalla, for example. But otherwise, it's quality all the way, especially in an age where we can see more details than ever before in games. I want to appreciate every leaf edge and every raindrop in Seattle in The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered, every crack in the pavement in Grand Theft Auto 5, all the lush trees and shrubs and every distant landscape feature in Red Dead Redemption 2's expansive lands, and every light particle crackling from Cal's lightsabers in the Star Wars Jedi Survivor. So you even admit it yourself how important it is to have a good performance in the game because you play in performance mode when playing the game and not taking screenshots. Most people would prefer the game to take a small hit in terms of looks or ray tracing or whatever to ensure that the game runs smoothly rather than have the game run really choppy at like 30 FPS but look really good. And speaking of performance and quality modes, that is a perfect solution to the problem of games running at 30 FPS. Have a mode where you can play at 60 FPS with reduced resolution, so that those who enjoy looking at fucking leaves can do so at 4K 30, and those that enjoy like focusing more on the gameplay and performance can enjoy it at 1080p or 1440p 60. Even though the witchcraft of upscaling and the current gen consoles' graphics cards ensure lower resolutions still offer great picture quality, the reduction in detail is always noticeable, and the 4K 30 modes are a perfect balance of image quality and pace. It's worth noting that this is something that has been backed up by tech breakdowns too. Some recommend a fidelity mode as the best way to play a game from a technical standpoint, with Horizon Forbidden West Digital Foundry analysis being one that sticks in my memory. You say you really notice when you drop the resolution in order to get a better frame rate, but to me it's the opposite. I notice a drop in performance / frame rate way more than I notice a drop in resolution. To me, seeing some raindrops in higher detail, seeing some hand cracks / hand wrinkles, or seeing some better leaves is not worth half my fucking performance / frame rate. Embracing 4K 30 also enables you to experience boosts to fidelity that aren't defined by pure quality or detail, among other features. Fidelity modes often offer great enhancements to light and shadows offered by ray tracing, often the first thing to be shrinked when a game prioritizes frame rates. This adds further refinement and sheen to a game's imagery and ensures you're getting the best picture quality possible. And I like how right below that he has a picture of Elden Ring, a game where you need fast fucking reaction times. Like, I don't think anybody played Elden Ring in quality mode. I get the desire for smoother action and faster frame rates, of course. The jump between 30 and 60 is noticeable to the human eye in any game. though especially to me, especially in fidelity hyper-realistic games, smoother action wins a lot of fans. And that might come from the influence of PC gaming hardware that ensures games aren't limited to caps or bound by console limitations, thus enabling wild frame rates to be achieved, often easily breaking through the 3-figure mark and being catered to with specialist monitors that offer refresh rates of 144Hz and above. So right here you admit yourself that most people would prefer to play at a better frame rate rather than a better resolution. So, like, why are you making this fucking article then? Like, why are you trying to convince people otherwise? You say it yourself right here, most people would prefer smoother action. As a result, we live in times where some games will be seen as better when played at higher frame rates, especially fast-paced shooters or action games. The smoothed out action or animations make combat moves easier to string together or dodge at the right time in games like Elden Ring, enable more fluid and fluent gunfire and shootout encounters in Call of Duty, and ensure that movesets are implemented with fluidity in modern fighting games, the latter often being locked to 60 FPS out of necessity and design. The only games I can see people preferring at 30 FPS 4K are games that are like turn-based or completely visual focused, like a Telltale game or something like that. But like when it comes to a game that's focused all around the gameplay and like fast-paced action, I can't see anybody ever picking 4K 30 over 1080p or 1440p 60. This focus on high frame rates over all else is even truer in competitive gaming. This is why almost all esports level competitions are competed on PC, and why games such as Call of Duty will be bumped down to 1440p or 1080p resolutions on console to achieve those higher frame rates. But despite this preference for prioritizing frame rates prevailing in casual gaming too, no matter how good the image quality is at higher resolution, it doesn't alter the fact that games can still comfortably be played at 4K 30 and still offer sublime experiences at that setting. The eye can keep up perfectly fine with action at that frame rate, the details and movements look more deliberate and realistic, and there's also a cinematic feel to games in 4K 30 due to how human actions are presented to and processed by the eye at that speed, and it being close to the traditional film rate of 24 FPS. I love how they always go back to the cinematic feel bullshit. Also, you say it's close to the 24 FPS of a film or whatever. I'm not here to watch a film. I'm here to play a video game. I too am looking forward to 4K and 60 FPS being the new norm and sweet spot for console gaming. Maybe we'll see that come to fruition if and when the likes of the PS5 Pro release. But until then, 4K 30 still does a terrific job of providing awesome gaming experiences and is the one I'm sticking with. The detailed environment, exquisite shadow and lighting rendering, and high quality textures, vegetation, and draw distance, to name a few, make for immersive experiences on console, and 30 frames per second is perfect for enjoying all of that. That was quite possibly one of the worst gaming articles I've ever read in my life. That was utter dog shit. People went out and spent $500 in this shitty economy for a next-gen console. They should be able to get a next-gen experience from that next-gen console. Quit sitting here and bootlicking for these companies, dude. Now there's one more thing I want to bring up before I close out this video. A lot of people would say, well, just play on PC, and that's exactly what I do. But the thing is, people shouldn't be forced to go out and spend tons of money in a shit economy. Well, the economy's shit right now, and I don't know if it's ever going to go back to normal. To play games in a frame rate higher than that we got on the GameCube. And that's pretty much all I gotta say. I'm out.